The sound of the slap echoed louder than the chandelier above the hotel lobby, sharp and humiliating, turning heads and freezing breath in the same instant. And for a moment the man holding a sleeping toddler against his chest wondered if this was the exact second his life finally decided to break him for good. The sting burned across his cheek, but it was the look in his daughter's half-awake eyes that hurt more than anything. That tiny flinch, as if she had already learned the world was cruel. And right there, beneath the polished marble floors of his own hotel, Matthew Reed felt smaller than he ever had before. He had arrived just after midnight, exhausted from a cross-country drive, his arms aching from holding 4-year-old Hannah, who had fallen asleep clutching a crumpled stuffed bear. The rain outside still clung to his jacket, and his boots left faint wet marks as he stepped inside the hotel he barely recognized anymore. This place had once been his dream, built from the insurance payout after his wife's death and years of sleepless nights filled with grief and resolve. But tonight, he was just another tired single father asking for a room, hoping for rest. What if this had been you, standing there with your child, already worn thin by life, only to be met with suspicion instead of kindness? The front desk staff had stared too long at his unshaven face, his worn coat, the way he hesitated before pulling out his credit card. The female manager on duty, Veronica Mills, had marched over with irritation already written into her posture. She accused him of trying to sneak in without a reservation, of loitering, of making guests uncomfortable. Matthew tried to explain, but exhaustion tangled his thoughts. He shifted Hannah on his shoulder, her small fingers tightening into his collar. And that was when Veronica struck him, convinced he was about to cause trouble. In that moment, humiliation soaked into him deeper than the rain outside, and the lobby felt like a courtroom where he had already been found guilty. People watched. Some whispered. No one intervened. Matthew lowered his eyes, not out of weakness, but because he had learned that anger often costs more than silence. Years earlier, he had lost his wife, Sarah, to a drunk driver on a quiet Ohio road, and with her went his belief that fairness existed. Since then, every decision he made had been about survival and protecting Hannah from the sharp edges of the world. If you were him, slapped in public while holding your child, would you fight back? Or would you swallow it to keep the peace? 9 minutes passed, slow and heavy, as security escorted him to a bench near the entrance while Veronica barked orders and complained about policies. Matthew sat there, gently rocking Hannah as she stirred and whimpered. He kissed her forehead and whispered prayers without words, prayers stitched from love and apology. He thought of the nights he slept in his car to save money, the mornings he braided Hannah's hair with clumsy fingers, the way grief had hollowed him, but never emptied him. He also thought of the framed documents locked in a briefcase in his trunk, documents that said this hotel, this entire polished empire, belonged to him. When Matthew finally stood, something had changed, not in his face, but in the quiet certainty inside him. He walked back into the lobby, asked for the corporate office phone, and calmly verified his identity. The color drained from faces as realization spread like a crack in glass. Veronica's confidence crumbled first, then the front desk staff who had laughed earlier, then the security guards who suddenly remembered other commitments. Matthew didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult anyone. He simply exercised a painful clarity that had been forged through loss. He terminated every staff member on duty that night, not out of revenge, but out of principle. The hotel had been built to be a place of refuge, not judgment. Anyone who could look at a tired father and sleeping child and choose cruelty did not belong there. The room fell silent, heavy with consequences. Hannah woke fully then, her eyes searching his face, and he smiled softly, a reassurance meant for her more than anyone else. This was not about power. This was about dignity. In the days that followed, the story spread quietly through the city. Some called Matthew heartless. Others called him brave. He didn't read the articles or comments. Instead, he rewrote training manuals, met with new hires personally, and installed a simple policy at the front desk: compassion first. He shared his story privately with managers, not to shame them, but to remind them that everyone walking through those doors carried unseen battles. One evening, weeks later, Matthew watched Hannah chase fireflies outside the hotel garden, her laughter light and free. He felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Not happiness exactly, but hope. The world had hurt him deeply, but it hadn't won. He had chosen restraint over rage, kindness over bitterness, and in doing so he had reclaimed something essential. Life rarely gives us moments where justice arrives cleanly wrapped. More often, it tests us when we are tired, exposed, and carrying the weight of someone we love. The question is never just what happens to us, but who we become when it does. Matthew knew that night would stay with him forever, not because of the slap, but because it reminded him of the power of self-worth and the responsibility that comes with it. Before this story ends, take a moment and tell us in the comments how you would have reacted if you were in his place, holding your child and facing that moment of humiliation. And if this story stirred something in you, if it reminded you of kindness, restraint, or second chances, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. But only if it truly touched your heart.